Hi there, welcome to Nauctis on YouTube.
The giant ship slides down the ways to join the peacetime Navy.
The USS Oriskany was one of the Essex-class aircraft carriers built after World War II for the United States Navy. The carrier, constructed at the New York Naval Shipyard, was first launched on October 13, 1945, but was not officially commissioned until September 25, 1950. Interestingly, the ship, nicknamed 𝗤𝗫𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗯, was initially designed as a long-hull Essex-class ship, and its construction was halted on August 22, 1946, after the end of World War II. At that time, the ship's construction project was about 85% complete. When construction resumed on August 8, 1947, the USS Oriskany was redesigned as a prototype for the SCB-27 modernization program and was dismantled to 60% completion. To accommodate the new generation of carrier aircraft, the flight deck structure was massively reinforced. Stronger elevators, more powerful hydraulic catapults, and new arresting gear were also installed. The Oriskany had an overall length of 888 feet, a width of 129 feet, and a draft of 30 feet 6 inches. The ship was powered by 4 steam turbines and 4 propeller shafts, allowing it to sail at a maximum speed of 33 knots, or about 37 miles per hour. The ship had a range of 14,100 nautical miles at a speed of 20 knots, or about 23 miles per hour. Operated by 2,600 officers and enlisted personnel, the ship had an aircraft runway on its top deck and could carry between 91 and 103 aircraft. The Oriskany's first operation was a carrier qualification operation conducted off the coast of Jacksonville, Florida on December 6, 1950. It continued operations in Jacksonville until January 11, 1951, when it began Carrier Air Group 1 for a cruise from Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. On May 15, 1951, the Oriskany left Newport for deployment to the Mediterranean with the 6th Fleet. After visiting ports in Italy, France, Greece, and Turkey, the ship returned to Quonset Point, Rhode Island on October 4, 1951. A month later, the Oriskany entered Gravesend Bay, New York to offload ammunition and have its mast removed to allow passage under the East River bridges to the New York Naval Shipyard. The overhaul included the installation of a new flight deck, steering system, and bridge. This work was completed in 6 months, and the ship immediately joined the Pacific Fleet, sailing through Guantanamo Bay, Rio de Janeiro, Cape Horn, Valparaiso, and Lima, arriving in San Diego on July 21, 1952. Following carrier qualifications for Carrier Air Group 19, the Oriskany departed San Diego on September 15, 1952 to assist UN forces in Korea. The ship arrived in Yokosuka on October 17th and joined Task Force 77 off the coast of Korea on October 31st. Its aircraft immediately launched bombing and strafing attacks against enemy supply lines and coordinated bombing missions with surface weapon attacks along the coast. Its pilots shot down 2 Soviet-built MiG-15 jets and damaged a third on November 18. Attacks continued until February 11, 1953, with the ship continuing to attack enemy artillery positions, troop headquarters, and supply dumps along the main battle line. After a brief maintenance period in Japan, the Oriskany resumed attacks on March 1, 1953. When a general-purpose bomb from an F-4U Corsair came loose and exploded, 3 people were killed and 13 others were injured. On March 29th, the Oriskany attacked Hong Kong and continued airstrikes on April 8th. After the attacks, the carrier then departed for San Diego on May 2nd and arrived on May 18th. The ship underwent overhaul and repair at the San Francisco Naval Shipyard in 1954. After the repairs were completed, the ship resumed operations with the Fast Carrier Task Force from Japan to the Philippines. On August 13, 1956, the carrier returned to San Francisco and entered the shipyard for the SCB-125A modernization program on October 1st. The overhaul consisted of the addition of a new angled flight deck, a rear deck edge elevator, an enlarged forward elevator, and an enclosed hurricane bow. The old hydraulic catapults were replaced with new, more powerful steam catapults, and the wooden flight deck was replaced with aluminum planking. However, the ship was deactivated there on January 2, 1957. Nevertheless, the Oriskany was recommissioned at the San Francisco Naval Shipyard on March 7, 1959. On August 1, 1963, it sailed to the Far East waters with carrier Air Wing 16. The Oriskany arrived in Subic Bay on August 31, 1963, and from there departed to the port of Iwakuni, Japan, towards the coast of South Vietnam. There, the ship had to be ready for any eventuality when there were reports of a coup in Saigon. When the crisis subsided, the carrier continued its operations from Japanese ports and then returned to San Diego on March 10, 1964. The Oriskany departed San Diego on April 5, 1965 for the Western Pacific or Westpac, arriving in Subic Bay on April 27th. At that time, more United States Marine were landing in South Vietnam to support the Army of the Republic of Vietnam forces against increasing communist pressure. To support its attacks, the Oriskany increased its weight and delivered nearly 10,000 tons of ordnance against enemy forces. The ship left Subic Bay on November 30th and arrived in San Diego on December 16th. In 1966, the ship returned to Subic Bay and then resumed attacks, launching 7,794 combat strikes. Unfortunately, the Oriskany suffered a fire on the right side of the forward hangar bay, spreading through 5 decks on October 26, 1966. The fire killed 44 people, including veteran fighter pilots who had conducted strikes in Vietnam hours earlier. It was discovered that the cause of the fire was a magnesium parachute flare that caused an explosion in the forward flare locker on Hangar Bay 1 directly below the carrier's lighting deck. The flare functioned as designed and the explosion was purely caused by human error, where a crew member unintentionally activated the flare. Instead of throwing it into the sea, he threw it into the weapons locker where the flare was stored. After this incident, the design of the flares used by the Navy was changed to a safer design that was immune to accidental activation. Additionally, crew numbers were increased to stabilize the numbers so that all activities could be properly supervised. After this fire incident, the Oriskany was reassigned to join several operations, one of which was Operation Yankee Station in the waters of Vietnam, which began on July 14, 1967. However, the ship eventually had to be retired on September 30, 1976 due to defense budget cuts and the ship's increasingly old and poor condition. Moreover, this aircraft carrier had also received 2 battle stars for Korean War service and 10 for Vietnam War service. There was a proposal to reactivate the Oriskany during the Reagan administration, but it was rejected by the United States Congress due to its poor material condition and limited air combat capability. In 1989, the Oriskany was removed from the Naval Vessel Register, and its hull was stripped of all equipment that could be reused or recycled. Meanwhile, the ship's bell, which had been removed, is now displayed in Oriskany, New York. Various other parts of the ship were taken and exhibited at the USS Hornet Museum in Alameda, California. After being sold as scrap by the Defense Reutilization and Marketing Service on September 9, 1995, the Navy eventually reclaimed ownership of the ship and decided to turn it into an artificial reef. Before sinking it, the Navy collaborated with the company Resolve Marine Group to perform environmental remediation. The Oriskany was towed to Pensacola, Florida in March 2006. A team of Navy personnel successfully sank the ship on May 17, 2006 by detonating 500 pounds of C4 explosives strategically placed on 22 sea connections in various engine rooms. "37 minutes after the detonation, the ship sank in 210 feet of water in the Gulf of Mexico. Now, the wreckage of the Oriskany is filled with various marine life and is known as the Great Carrier Reef.